The world's most famous skyline, that of New York, New York, looms in the distance, but today the focus is on the nearby Meadowlands Sports Complex, where the Indy cars will be rolling like thunder in the Meadowlands Grand Prix. In 1984, the first Grand Prix was run, and Mario Andretti jumped to the lead from the pole. His son Michael, 21 at the time, found this track was not at all forgiving. The retaining wall took Michael out of the race, while Mario went on to take the checkered flag. Now it has been 2 years since Mario Andretti has won an Indy car race, but he's ready to run again today, and he'll start next to Michael on the front row. 1985, and Mario led again, but Danny Sullivan overtook him for the lead on the inside. Later, Mario would regain the lead, but then collide with Bobby Rahal, ending both their chances, and Al Unser Jr. then took command and went on to his first Indy car victory. This year, Al Jr. stands second in the chase for the PPG IndyCar World Championship. In 1986, the tight Meadowlands course exacted a heavy price again, but Danny Sullivan was able to survive this contact, and Sullivan pulled past Bobby Rahal and went on to capture the victory. In 1990, Danny Sullivan comes to the Meadowlands off his first win of the year last week in the Cleveland Grand Prix. 1987. Second-generation drivers were dueling as Michael Andretti gets by Al Unser Jr. That year, defending car champion Bobby Rahal took the checkered flag. Today, Rahal comes back to New Jersey in search of his first win of the 1990 season. 1988, and Emerson Fittipaldi sat on the pole. The Brazilian driver jumped to an early lead and led for 107 laps. But then, Emo and Al Unser Jr. went into turn 4. Only one would come out. It wasn't Emo. Late in the race, Little Al chased as Mario Andretti led, but Mario's lead would be short-lived. This day, Mario's racing luck would be bad. Mechanical failure in the rear end of the car ended his challenge, and Al Unser Jr., the son of a 4-time Indianapolis 500 winner, went on to win his second Meadowlands Grand Prix. 1989, and the tight, demanding Meadowlands course proved unforgiving again. Most of the leaders escaped this mid-race pileup. Mario Andretti did not. Again, his challenge was over much earlier than planned. Soon after, his son Michael was out of the race after colliding with the retaining wall. Then the rains came, and Bobby Rahal closed the door on hard-charging Emerson Fittipaldi. Eventually, rain forced an early checkered flag, and Bobby Rahal was the winner after 145 laps. His second title here. Today, he goes for a third championship on NBC Sports World, as Nissan presents the 1990 Meadowlands Grand Prix. 10 miles from the Empire State Building in downtown New York City lies the largest sports complex in the world, the Meadowlands Sports Complex. It's the home of the Giants and the Jets, of the Nets and the Devils, of thoroughbred and harness racing, and today the focus is on the Indianapolis cars as they come here for the 7th Meadowland Grand Prix. Good afternoon, everyone. On a sunny, windy day in the Meadowlands of New Jersey, I'm Don Cricky. Rain is forecast. It could play havoc with today's 200-mile race. This race is on a very tight, demanding course, and the drivers all agree because of that, nobody can pull away. It will be close. Equally close currently are the PPG IndyCar World Series point totals, with just 6 points separating the top 4 drivers. Rick Mears, as you see, is atop the list, followed by Al Unser. The winner here today will get 20 points. Second place is good for 16 points. I'm joined by one of the famous names in Indianapolis car racing, the 3-time 500 winner, Johnny Rutherford. Johnny, as you know, Michael Andretti's on the pole today. He's been on the pole twice so far this year and won them both.
Well, yes, he has. And, of course, those first 4 are tied up in the point standings, but Michael is right there in 5th place, knocking on the door. All he needs is a good finish today or a win today to catapult him into the race for the points championship. And he has matured so much in the last 2 years of his driving that he is ready for a championship. So the guy on the pole today, Michael Andretti, is going to be the guy to beat.
Okay, Johnny. Sitting next to the pole sitter, Michael Andretti, is his dad, Mario Andretti, who's been in the front row for all 7 Meadowland Grand Prix. For more on the Andrettis, here's Sally Larvick in the pit. Sally?
Thank you, Don. Well, this isn't the first time that Michael and Mario have been on the front row at the Meadowlands. It happened back in 1986, only they were on different teams at the time. They're on the same team now, and not only do they share the front row, but they also share the same setup. That's what teammates are supposed to do, but you can bet when the green flag falls, they'll each be running their own race, with Mario hoping to secure his first win in 2 years. And he can do it, too. He's got the proper setup. The car's been working well all weekend, and not only has he been on the front row at every race here at the Meadowlands, but he has led every race. And the team feels that this is Mario's best chance to win this season. Now let's go to my colleague, Brian Hammonds.
Thank you, Sally. While one super team, the Newman-Haas team, occupies the front row, they are followed very closely by Team Penske. Their cars will start 3, 4, and 5. On the inside of row 2 is Emerson Fittipaldi, who has been on the pole here at the Meadowlands the last 2 years and has finished second here 3 times. Alongside Emo is his teammate and points leader, Rick Mears. And on the inside of row 3, the third car out of the Penske stable, Danny Sullivan. Now, if you want to carry this team concept one step further, row 4 consists of the Gallus-Craco team, Bobby Rahal and Al Unser Jr. So 3 teams make up 7 of the first 8 starting spots here today. Don?
Thanks, Brian. The drivers all consider this one of the most demanding race courses they compete on. They also like it. Emerson Fittipaldi says, "I love this race course." Let's take a tour now of the Meadowlands course with Johnny Rutherford.
When you pull out of the pits here at the Meadowlands, you know you're on a racetrack that really demands your attention. It's rough, it's narrow, and it's very, very fast. Into the first turn, just a turn around the corner, but it's very quick. Out onto the back straightaway, 1,500 feet long, speeds of about 160 miles an hour. Hard braking down into turn number 2, and this gets into the very critical point on the racetrack because it's very narrow and a lot of concrete walls. Cars get bunched up here, you have to be very cautious. Short straightaway down to turn number 4. This is a quick kink, a hard right, a hard left, out onto the front straightaway, down in the gears. The front straightaway is about 2,000 feet long and the fastest part of the racetrack. Probably speeds of 170 plus miles an hour through here. And it's downhill a little bit, the only elevation change on the racetrack. Hard braking into turn 1, get around this, out to the wall, accelerating very hard, shifting gears. You probably do between 14 and 16 gear shifts around this racetrack, so it is very, very busy. Here you go from 6th gear to 3rd gear. Tight around a left-hander, around a right-hander, shifting gears. Short straightaway down to turn number 4, grabbing the gear shifter again. Through the kink, out onto the front straightaway. Hard acceleration off of the turn, shifting gears, going from 3rd gear to 6th gear. Down the front straightaway and dash to the first turn.
Now it's time for that dramatic moment at the start of every IndyCar race, the command that quickens the heartbeat of every driver and race fan.
Gentlemen, start your engines!
The engines are fired up, and the best IndyCar drivers in the world are ready to race. The green flag and the start are coming up as Nissan presents the Meadowlands Grand Prix. 28 IndyCars are on the track and ready to roll here at the Meadowlands. The grid includes 14 rows, 2 cars to a row, and here's how they align to start the race. Starting on the pole, Michael Andretti, winner of 2 of the last 3 races. Next to him, his dad, Mario Andretti, the first kart driver to win $7 million. In row 2, the defending kart IndyCar world champion, Emerson Fittipaldi. Next to him, Rick Mears, a 3-time Indianapolis 500 winner. Row 3, Danny Sullivan, who won last week at Cleveland. Next to him, Teo Fabi of Milan, Italy, looking for his breakthrough win of 1990. In row 4, Bobby Rahal, the defending Meadowlands Grand Prix champion. And Al Unser, who's won this event twice. In row 5, Scott Brayton, who has 2 top 10 finishes here in the last 3 years. And Dominic Dobson, in only 23 starts, he's won over $500,000. In row 6, Raul Boesel of Brazil. filling in for the injured Scott Pruitt. Next to him, John Andretti, a nephew of Mario Andretti. In row 7, Eddie Cheever, 11-year Formula One veteran, and Mike Groff, the 1989 ARS titleist who's come up to the big leagues this year. In row 8, Arie Luyendyk, the winner of the Indianapolis 500 last May, and Scott Goodyear, who has 4 top 10 finishes in 1990. In row 9, the great A.J. Foyt, the 4-time Indianapolis 500 winner, and Willie T. Ribbs. One of his sponsors is entertainer Bill Cosby. In row 10, Roberto Guerrero and Didier Tays. In row 11, Dean Hall, a former downhill speed skier, and Pancho Carter. In row 12, Terrell Pomroth and Michael Greenfield, winner of the 24 Hours of Daytona this year. Row 13, from Japan, Hiro Matsushita and Jeff Wood. In row 14, Tony Bettenhausen and Randy Lewis. All 28 cars are on the track now and running as we come up to the start of this Meadowlands Grand Prix. They're running for $700,000 in prize money today. You see the race record. Al Unser attained that back in 1988. 150 laps of a track that measures just over 1.2 miles. The defending champion, Bobby Rahal, a 2-time winner here. The 1990 money list shows Arie Luyendyk up atop it after that big victory at Indianapolis. Emerson Fittipaldi is right behind him, followed by Rahal, Unser, and Mears. Former Meadowlands winners, Mario Andretti won the inaugural in '84. Al Unser's a 2-time winner. Al Jr. Danny Sullivan won in '86. Bobby Rahal, a 2-time winner. Looking at the chassis, 20 are using the Lola. And now it's the moment we've waited for as starter Rick Finaro has the green flag up and ready. And the Indy cars are ready to race, and it's underway.
There we see a pretty good start. Both cars front row, even Steven. Michael getting the nod, going into turn number 1. Dad Mario close behind.
This is the 10th time in their racing careers that the Andrettis have started together on the front row. Mario has 5 poles, and Michael has 5.
Have Rick Mears running in 3rd, with Teo Fabi in the Porsche running in 4th. And then the 2 Marlboro cars with Danny Sullivan and Emerson Fittipaldi. It'll be interesting to watch this and to see. Now, traditionally, the Andrettis take off and jump way out into the lead. So we'll see if they pull out or if they play it cool and try to conserve.
A concern of all the drivers, as we're on board now with Little Al, the over-the-shoulder cam, and you get a good speed look at the quick back straight. Concern is fuel consumption. As Michael Andretti said, for some reason this track eats up fuel.
Well, it really does, because I think you're keeping the throttle open so long. It has the 2 long straightaways, and you're in the throttle, keeping the butterflies open, as we say. There we see a pass. Al Unser Jr. is going by, I think that was Danny Sullivan, but now he's moved up a position, he was by Sullivan, but he's going now through the kink, and they keep the throttle open so long that it really uses the fuel, and the cars are getting so competitive. Everybody's cutting back, trying to get the best power they can, and so they're running into a condition to where they're not getting the fuel mileage that they would like to.
Early in the race, the pole sitter Michael Andretti continues to lead. He said this is a tough course. You have to take chances on it. The course here at the Meadowlands averages only 45 feet in width, and at some points it's down to 31 feet, and you're between the proverbial rock and hard place. There's concrete barriers on each side.
Boy, that's an understatement, because that concrete around here is very hard. Here's the battle with Teo Fabi and the Porsche moving up on Rick Mears. The Porsche has been inching its way along. They've been doing a lot of testing, so it'll be interesting to watch Teo to see if he can really put the pressure on.
Rick Mears in the yellow car. He won this year the inaugural event at Phoenix. He's at his best on an oval course. This, of course, a road track. Rick Mears, 3-time Indy 500 winner. Felt real good, Johnny, about his car coming to this race.
Yes, Rick has a special situation with Roger Penske. They just seem to work well together. He has the car work. You saw Teo thinking about moving to the inside, but thinking better of it, moving back out on the line. He's staying right there. Mears is not running off and leaving him. You always see some debris in the track there, so it might have been someone got together.
They call this race at the outset, as you see Teo Fabi moving up into 4th place. The battle of the super team. The Newman Haas team was on the front row, the Andrettis. Next 3 qualifiers were from Team Penske. And then the Gallus Craco team in the 4th row, Rahal and Al Jr.
Boy, Teo is moving right in close, trying to make a challenge. There's the car we see limping. Tony Bettenhausen on the inside has a tire problem, so he's going back to the pits to get another tire, it looks like.
As we look now at the leaders, Michael Andretti, who started on the pole in the lead. His dad, Mario Andretti, right behind him. Rick Mears is running third at the moment. Teo Fabi's moved up to fourth. Bobby Rahal is in fifth, followed by Fittipaldi and Al Jr., then Danny Sullivan, number 8.
Certainly looks like Mario has his car working. There's the flat tire. There we see the Bettenhausen car. He's coming into the pits to get a new tire. That's unfortunate. He must, I don't know whether he touched the inside wall or whether they had a couple of cars come together.
So Tony Bettenhausen, son of a famous racing driver, goes into the pits with a blown rear tire.
Trying to get the car stopped. You can see that rear one locked up, so he's got it in the air, going to change both right sides. There the Andretti's again. Mario is keeping right in close quarters there, so son Michael is not going to be able to run off like we've seen him do in the past races, jump way out to a lead.
We're looking over Mario's shoulder as he pursues his son Michael. Mario Andretti says the toughest place to finish in racing is second, because you know you could have won. The only time I never minded finishing second was when I ran second to Michael.
He could do that today because Michael certainly has the bit in his teeth. He's coming into his own. He's got that maturity now, and if his car stands up, he goes for it.
1955, Mario Andretti, a native of Italy, sailed past the nearby Statue of Liberty. Little did he know that some years later he'd be competing in a major Indianapolis car event in the Meadowlands of New Jersey. We'll be back in a moment. Pulling up and going for the lead, and Mario Andretti has passed his son Michael and taken the lead.
Well, boy, now that's a change, because I would have thought they might have stuck in there, but Mario is a real competitor, and if he has a chance and he sees a position, he goes for it. He's probably been eyeing that for some time, thinking I can get down there and catch Michael in the, with his sleep a little bit and maybe do the job on him, and he did just that at the end of the back straightaway. Here we have a rearward shot from Mario's car showing back at Michael, so he's pulled away a little bit. I don't know if Michael's had a problem and had to ease up a little bit, or whether Mario just decided it's time to go.
Mario kicked in and passed son Michael. Right now the Andrettis are nearly 5 seconds ahead of the third place rider, Rick Mears.
Well, it looks like Bobby Rahal has joined that battle with Rick Mears and Teo Fabi, so they're racing for they're in third, fourth, and fifth right now, and it's Rahal is on the move, so he could be challenging here any time on Teo Fabi.
Bobby Rahal knows how to get it done here. A two-time winner. We're on board now, looking over the shoulder of the defending champion, Bobby Rahal.
You can see the numbers on his dashboard. That's an electronic dash, and one of the numbers on the right side is the manifold pressure, or the boost, that he's running, and the other side is the speedometer.
Absolutely optimum racing conditions. The threat of rain looks far gone right now. It is sunny, warm, and humid in the Meadowlands of New Jersey as Bobby Rahal, as you see, running in fifth place. Pursuing hard, Teo Fabi.
There you can see the numbers. He's coming up on 45 inches of boost, and his speed doesn't look like he's monitoring something else on the left side now. It usually is speed. And yesterday he was showing us 170 miles an hour down the front of this straightaway here.
And peak out at 167. Rahal looking for his breakthrough win of the 1990 season. The Andrettis, and now it's Mario who's in the lead. Michael, who started on the pole second. They finished 1-2 this year at Portland, with Michael winning the event and Mario right behind. And previous week, Michael also won at Portland. He won back-to-back Detroit and Portland.
Rahal is really putting the pressure on, staying right in the right place, so the battle is right.
Gary Lyonduck, the Indianapolis 500 champion, running hard.
Making his move, passing Randy Lewis there into turn number 1. Ari has been struggling a bit. His car just hasn't quite been there, and he's been awfully busy with all of his duties after winning Indy. I I think he's starting to get things ironed out a bit because they feel a little more comfortable.
Lyondike in car number 30 is running 14th at the moment in this 28-car field.
Eddie Cheever racing with Raul Bocel. This is quite a battle. Cheever's putting the pressure on, trying to get in a position to make a pass, and we could see it down here in turn 1. Cheever has the Chevrolet power. Bocel has the Judd power. They see him moving to the inside, making the pass. He outbreaks him into turn number 1. There's a pass.
7 of the top 8 qualifiers qualify with Chevrolet engines. Indianapolis cars averaging under 1.8 miles per gallon fuel consumption on this track, as we're back on board now with Bobby Rahal, still in pursuit of Teo Fabi, who is running 4th.
Porsche looks like it accelerates very well once he gets up through the gears. Rahal still puts the pressure on at the end, outbreaks him down into the corner.
Bobby in the blue car, an aeronautical engineer from Milan, Italy, a former downhill ski champion. He says, I like to go fast, and he's doing it right now here at the 1990 Meadowlands Grand Prix.
We're on board with Al Unser Jr., and he's giving chase to Emerson Fittipaldi. So this
Emerson Fittipaldi
catches him through the kink there, so he must be working just a little bit better, I would think.
Fittipaldi with number 1 on his Marlboro car. He was the champion a year ago, had 5 wins, including the 500. Got some back markers falling back now as the commanding cars are starting to pass. Only one car has gone out so far. That was Tony Bettenhausen, went out with a blown rear right tire.
Here we see Al Unser's chance to maybe put it past. He gets down underneath the inside of Emerson and goes by him. Boy, that was textbook, classic. Right down, outbraked him into the corner. So Al Unser Jr. has taken the position away, and Sullivan is pressing very hard.
His Penske teammate, Danny Sullivan, car number 7, right on the tailpipe of Emerson Fittipaldi. Unser now running 6th. Bobby Rahal has moved into the 4th place. Mario Andretti continues to lead. He started number 2. Michael was on the pole. Michael Andretti is now 2nd. Rick Mears is 3rd, followed by Rahal, Fabi, Unser, Fittipaldi, and Sullivan. Leader speed, electronic timing, 110.104 miles per hour for Mario Andretti through this point in the race.
That's pretty quick. You can see how busy it must be. Al Unser makes a pass on a slower car. Sullivan is going to try to utilize that slower car, I'm sure, to set up a pass on Emerson, but I'm not sure he can get it done. Emerson got off of that turn just a little bit better.
Is there any best place to pass in this course, Johnny?
Well, I've always said anywhere you can, but obviously at the ends of the straightaways, Don, you've got to be able to get in position there. See Emerson getting by Teo Pomroth. Danny's going to have to set that up. Gives Emerson a little bit of a cushion now. He's got a car between them. Danny's making the pass, so it'll be right back up on Emerson's tail.
Now we're looking over the shoulder of Bobby Rahal. Rahal driving hard. There's very few places on this course where the drivers can get a breath. Really, on the back straight, they say maybe for a second or two you can relax for a moment. As the driver's tournament, you have to hustle the car all the way around, and they're saying there's bumps on the course as there was last week at Cleveland. That compounds the difficulty. It really knocks people around in the cockpit.
Rahal has made his move to 3rd place in the standings at this point, ahead of Rick Mears. Here Al Unser trying to get by Teo Fabi. It's so tight in there. It's extremely tough. You have to really make sure you've got the guy's attention, or it can be a tie and it'll be all over for you.
Danny Sullivan says one of the good points for a leader is that the course is narrow enough where you can shut down the challengers, shut them off, shut the door. Al Unser Jr. continues to stalk the 4th place rider, Teo Fabi. Actually, Fabi in 5th now. Al Unser is 6th. Mario Andretti, the leader.
There he goes. He made his pass. Went by on the inside. He's using the end of this back straightaway. Obviously, he's got the acceleration off of that corner to be able to put it on the other end. So he's using that to stay right in behind a guy and then whip out real quick and go for the position.
So Al Unser Jr., a two-time Meadowlands Grand Prix champion, moves up a notch with the pass, and we'll be back for more racing in a moment. Mario Andretti running on the lead on the inside there.
Just made a pass on A.J. Foyt.
Andretti running about 13 seconds ahead, with his son Michael right behind him. Then the third place car, Bobby Rahal, running 13 seconds back according to the electronic timing. Let's go down to the pits now to Brian Hammonds.
Well, Don, there's a team strategy being employed here in the Newman Haas pits. When Michael was leading earlier in the race, he radioed his crew and said, "Dad's pushing me too hard. I'm burning too much fuel." So Michael let his father around and into the lead. Michael right now is conserving fuel for later in the race. So Michael let his dad around. Don?
Thank you, Brian. It's a tight race. Right now we have 16 cars on the lead lap. As you look over the shoulder of Mario Andretti, who won this race the inaugural year in 1984. He's not won an IndyCar race since 1988, as we have a battle now.
Yes, Emerson Fittipaldi is starting to push in on Teo Fabi in the Porsche. He's going to try to set him up. You know, when you sit back there, you watch the guy in front of you and you try to see where he has a weakness, where he might be slipping, where he might not be getting off of a turn quite as fast. You try to work on that, try to set up. So obviously the Porsche is still holding its own pretty good.
Bobby has had trouble getting his car right. He's not finished in the top 5 this season.
In fact, it looks like Emo is a Porsche sandwich. The team car, number 41, John Andretti, and the other Porsche is right behind him. So he's got Teo in front and John Andretti in back.
John Andretti is the cousin of Mario. Fittipaldi, who had that sensational year in 1989, winning 5 kart Indy events. He's been a world driving champion, a Formula 1 world champion twice. Also, of course, winning the kart Indy World Championship. Only one other man has won them both. That is Mario Andretti. Been a lot of speculation, too, that Michael Andretti might go to Formula 1 racing. Right now,
we see the battle is not shaping up to be very strong between Little Al and Rick Mears, but he closes in that turn. Little Al has evidently got some poke down that straightaway, because he's able to catch guys right at the end of that back straightaway. Starting to put a little pressure on. He's able to hang right in behind him there and get a run off of the turn with him. So Al Unser Jr. is on the move.
Al Unser Jr. was a rising star back in '85 when he won this event, his first IndyCar race title. And he came back to win it again in 1988.
He's making a move on the outside. He used that slower car, and he's gotten by him. He's passed Rick Mears, taking over that position. He's in between the cars, gets through safely, makes his move. What a classic. He really used that slower car of Dean Hall to set up and get by Rick Mears. That was a good, slick move. There he's behind Roberto Guerrero in the Alfa Romeo car of Pat Patrick's. This is Pat Patrick's 500th IndyCar start as an owner, so he's passed a milestone.
You used to drive for him, didn't you?
Yes, in fact, I was his first driver many years ago.
Johnny Rutherford, 3-time winner of the Indianapolis 500, is right now. We have a tight race into this curving track. 6 turns around the 1.2-mile road course.
Mears is still putting the pressure on, trying to get in that position to outbreak Al into that corner, but he just can't quite get it done. He was really tight on him coming around turn number 1 back there.
Mario Andretti continues as the leader, followed by his son Michael and Bobby Rahal third. Unser, Mears, Fabi, Fittipaldi, and John Andretti next. Rick Mears running 5th.
Oh, we've got a car in the wall. Car number 50, Mike Groff. Mike Groff has hit the wall, and it looks like he's trying to get himself unhooked from the radio wires and everything. I'm not sure that he's just flat. Looks like he went out and hit the wall. That appears to be, well, I'm not sure which turn. There we see there must have been another car involved. Tero Palmroth from Finland, the Finnish driver. They're backing his car out of the way. It appears that it's still running. He has, you can see the fumes from the turbocharger there.
One problem when an engine shuts down in IndyCar racing, there's no onboard starter. They don't want that because of the weight. How much does one weigh?
Well, with the batteries and everything it takes to make the thing work, it's probably going to be up around 60 pounds, you know, between 30 and 60 pounds. And that's a little more than the designers like to give away. There we had a picture of
Mike Groff.
And he's trying to get out of the car.
Appears to be all right, but Mike Groff is done racing this day as Mario Andretti continues to lead the 1990 Meadowlands Grand Prix. Michael Andretti running second. We'll be back to the Meadowlands of New Jersey. Right now at the Meadowlands Grand Prix, the drivers are running under a full course yellow caution flag because of the crash of that car, that of Mike Groff, who slammed hard into the retaining wall. Mike's all right. Right now the leader in a Porsche is Teo Fabi, but he's the leader, Johnny, because he hasn't pitted. Is he getting better fuel mileage or what?
Well, I'm not sure exactly what might be the cause. It was a call of Derek Walker, I'm sure, the pit crew chief. So we'll go to Sally Larvik to see.
Well, there's a lot of strategy being discussed here in the Porsche pit. And Derek Walker, you could probably answer for us. Why did Teo not pit during the Shello?
Well, we decided to risk it. We wanted to stay out and gamble on. We really don't need to do any more than 2 stops, and we feel it's worth the gamble to stay out there, and later on in the race it may be a big factor in winning the race.
Well, and John Andretti didn't pit either, but isn't it going to be more dangerous for you to pit on a green when you've had a yellow to bring the car in?
That's true. I guess that's the gamble.
Is this not going to be a 3-pit stop race? At least not for you. You don't think so?
We don't feel it should be, no.
Okay, Derek. Thank you very much. A little strategy going on in the Porsche pit. Let's go back up to the booth.
And that strategy has put Porsches 1-2 at the moment. Fabi and John Andretti. The track on this very hot, humid July day nearby to New York City is breaking up a bit now, John.
Yeah, it sloughs off, and some of the rocks come loose from the asphalt, and it makes for a little bit slippery going in some of the corners, so they're sweeping that.
Last week at Cleveland, Al Unser Jr.'s team was involved in a terrifying pit fire. Brian Hammonds takes a look at the ever-present danger in IndyCar racing.
15 years ago in IndyCar racing, the biggest chance for fire came during a crash when the fuel tank ruptured. Well, the rubber-bladdered fuel cell took care of that problem. Nowadays, the biggest chance for fire comes during a pit stop when the car is refueling. The worst fire in kart history came at the Michigan 500 in 1981. During a pit stop, there was a fuel spill, and Herm Johnson's pit erupted into flames. Amazingly, no one was seriously injured. After that incident, CART took a hard look at refueling and made safety modifications to the equipment. But it's not foolproof. Last month in Detroit, Didier Taze had a fueling fire in the pits. Then last week, Al Unser Jr. pitted during the Cleveland Grand Prix. Fuel sprayed out of the hose and ignited. Safety crews and other teams moved in with water, dousing Little Al and crew members who were on fire. Both the Taze incident and last week's fire in Cleveland were close to becoming disasters.
We're looking at both equipment and the operation of the equipment. The equipment has quite a few safety devices built into it, but in both of these incidents, the safety devices were not activated quick enough to prevent the amount of fuel that was spilled.
CART is looking at ways to make refueling even safer. Further modifications to the fueling gear are possible. They've even looked at fuel additives that would make the methanol flames visible, which would make firefighting easier. As catastrophic as those pit fires look, nobody was seriously injured. The main reason for that, the mandatory wearing of fire suits for everybody over the pit wall.
Thank you, Brian. Most of the drivers pitted as we're now under a full course yellow caution flag on Mike Groff's crash. And we're ready for green any time. 2 who did not pit are the Porsche drivers, Teo Fabi and John Andretti and Scott Brayton. And those 3 are running 1, 2, 3 right now. We'll be back waiting for that green flag in just a moment as Teo Fabi in a Porsche is leading an IndyCar race for the first time this year. With Johnny Rutherford, Sally Larvik, and Brian Hammonds, this is Don Crickey back at the 1990 Meadowlands Grand Prix. As right now, Teo Fabi is in the lead. He did not pit during an extended yellow caution flag. They're back under the green flag now, running hard. Teo Fabi and John Andretti running 1-2 in Porsches in the blue cars. Scott Brayton is running 3rd. Mario Andretti and Michael Andretti running 1 and 2 right now, attending to the car of Willie T. Ribbs in the pit area, as we have a battle for the lead between the two Porsche cars.
That was not a very prudent move on John Andretti's part. He's being passed now by Michael Andretti, so Cousins going after it there, but he tried on the outside of Teo, and in that corner, that's not really the way to do it.
As the crew chief, Derek Walker, said they took a gamble, didn't pit the Porsches during the yellow caution, and now that's a gamble. We'll see how wise it was as the race wears on. Scott Brayton.
Yeah, they're being passed. There's Scott Brayton, who was in third, is being passed by Andretti and Mears. They're all heavy on fuel, and he's a little bit lighter on fuel, so he should have somewhat of an advantage, but it doesn't look like it. They just whizzed right on by him. Here we see a gaggle of them going down into the corner, trying to outbrake one another. Al Unser Jr. is in that group, trying to go from the backside. Here we're looking over Bobby Rahal's shoulder as he heads in behind the Andretti car. Mario Andretti. Rick Mears just ahead of him, so this bunch will be going at it pretty hard.
The Andrettis were the leaders before that yellow caution when they went into pit. Michael and Mario started 1-2 also in 1986, and Mario took the lead on the first turn, beat Michael to the first turn, but neither would win that day. The winner was Danny Sullivan back in '86. We're looking off the back of Mario Andretti's racing machine now, as Andretti looks back at hard-charging Bobby Rahal, who's the defending champion, and man, we have a collision between two of the top cars in the race. That was unbelievable. He flat drove. I don't know whether he had a brake problem or what might have happened there, but he just we saw it coming. He drove right into the back of him, and that puts Mario out of the race, as well as Bobby Rahal, two of the top contenders, and that's a little bit puzzling. Be interesting to look at that. Mario Andretti, who had the lead after starting in the #2 position at the outset on race day, goes out of the race. His racing luck turns up bad again here in the Meadowlands. They're not going to move that car. The wheels all askew in the front like that, so we're back, Johnny, under a full course yellow caution. Yeah. It looks like Rahal's out of business too. There's Bobby Rahal. He's done racing for the day, the defending champion. Yeah, he's upset with it's hard. I'm telling you, it's really hard to get out of a car, and he's saying something to Mario there. Mario's still strapped in his car, but it's really hard to be keyed up and have the adrenaline flowing and then suddenly have it just stop on you like that, and you want to blame everybody first, and it may even be your own fault or mostly your fault, but you still can't accept that because you wonder why, what in the world happened, and it happened so quickly. The Porsche of Teo Fabi still leads the way. It has yet to pit in this race. A 150-lap race. We're through 43 laps now. On first viewing, it looked like Bobby Rahal just drove up on and over Mario Andretti, but as you pointed out, Johnny Rutherford, it was a very unhappy Rahal. Here we have a chance to look at it, Don, and see what happened. They're coming down in here. They're very close together, and suddenly Mario went to the outside. I see what happened. He just flat moved to the outside and cut Bobby off. Bobby had nowhere to go, and that was unfortunate. It was Rahal was on a move and had some momentum, was going to try to cut back to the inside. Mario was moving to the outside, and here we see it from what we looked at originally from the back. You can see he's moving to the inside. Rahal moves, bang, there's the contact, and that was one guy going one way and the other one trying to go the other, and they just made contact. You think it was a tactical move by Andretti to try to keep Rahal from passing? Here we can look at it in slow motion, and we'll see. We'll see Mario moving to the outside. I think he was trying to get position, and Rahal just was had too much momentum, coming in too hard, came together, and that's the end of the day for both of them. That would be exasperating in both cockpits, I'm sure. So the defending champion Rahal goes out, and there's Bobby Rahal, who called his 2 wins here at the Meadowlands Grand Prix the most satisfying victories of his racing career outside of his Indianapolis 500 win. Mario Andretti, 50 years old, he too is out of the race. He's not won an Indy kart race in 2 years now. And the drivers continue under a full course yellow. That's a long walk back to the pits whenever you, of course, you have a little time to think about it and get rid of some of the frustrations and thoughts, and by the time you get there you usually cool down, but still that was just an unfortunate situation. Got a lot of ways to look at the collision that took them both out of the race. This is little Al Unser. We'll watch from his camera to see what happened in front of him.
Fortunately for him, it happened to the outside, and they went straight off the escape road. So Al Unser Jr. was privy to a front row seat.
There's Mario Andretti, who is riding a 32-race losing streak. An unduly long lack of success for perhaps the preeminent name in the business.
If it's any consolation at all, he shows his frustration. He has some pent up too. Any consolation, he kept his string alive. He has started in the front row and led every race that they've staged here at the Meadowlands.
They only pay off on checkered flags, though, when you're leading at the end.
Here's a chance to look at this accident from Bobby Rahall's car and see what he saw there. Andretti's moved to the inside, and that was, I don't think he was expecting.
What a great look.
I don't think he was expecting Mario to make that outside move, and that's got to be quite a surprise.
Well, you saw it every way you possibly could from every on-course camera angle, and Mario Andretti goes to the sideline, as does Rahal, and Teo Fabi in a Porsche finds himself #1 at the moment. We're ready to go green again now after the caution flag following the Rahal-Mario Andretti crash that knocked them both out of the race. And we're back running at full speed. Green flag is out. Lap 50 of this 150-lap Meadowlands Grand Prix.
See Michael Andretti making the pass on the lead there. Michael takes the lead back from Teo Fabi.
Michael Andretti, of course, is a fresh load of fuel. During the first caution, it was 8 laps in duration. The Porsches, Fabi and John Andretti, did not come into pit. They still have not been in. Teo Fabi hasn't. He's running second right now.
Well, they're going to have to start thinking about it fairly quickly because those things are getting thirsty. They should be running a little bit better with the light load, but maybe not so. I tell you, Michael is just going away again.
Michael Andretti, who started the day on the pole, fastest qualifier, lost the lead to his dad, about 7 laps in, and now Michael is back in the lead. His dad, Mario Andretti, out of the race. Michael Andretti, 27 years old, described by his father as a highly competitive young man. Grew up in a competitive environment. Mario says everything we do in the Andretti family, whether it's ping pong or racing the big cars, is highly competitive. And
boy, that's a fact. They all compete. Michael is certainly doing a good job today. He's using, it's what I say, the maturity that I talked about earlier in the show is he's able to move along and pick his places now. Used to, he'd push for it. He was very aggressive. Some of that aggressiveness has turned into maturity and knowing when to and when not to.
Eddie Cheever is moving up surprisingly. He's in a battle for 4th now, trailing Al Jr.
Oh, he tried to make a move there and thought better of it, and that was some good driving, very hard braking. Of course, Eddie is from the Formula One ranks where the cars are very evenly matched.
Let's go down to Brian now, who's with Bobby Rahal.
Bobby now out of the race, and Bobby, from your vantage point, what happened?
Well, I thought Mario was gonna try to outbrake Rick, so I decided I'd try to just, I figured he'd go around the inside of the corner from that line, and he moved over, and I just had a little bit too much momentum. I couldn't stop, and I just got into him, and I just needed a little bit of room. That was all.
You were shaking your fist at someone. Was that Mario?
No, I was exasperated. I was just saying, sorry. I think it's just one of those things here. You've got to outbrake people to pass people, and if 20/20 hindsight, if he just stayed where he was, there would have been room. But when he came over in front, I was pretty much committed and tried to stop and just couldn't stop fast enough.
All right, a short day for Bobby Rahal. Don?
Okay, Brian, Bobby Rahal out of the race. Now Emerson Fittipaldi, who's looking for his breakthrough win of the 1990 season after 5 Kart Indy victories last year, is in the pits, and they're checking something.
They're looking that car over very closely. It's electrical or something. They're looking underneath to see if anything is dripping or any problems there, but it doesn't appear to be. There we see Al Unser Jr. Holding his own. He's trying to hold off Eddie Cheever. who is now running in fourth. They're third and fourth, respectively, and Cheever is putting the pressure on.
Michael Andretti has the race lead. John Andretti is running second, followed by Little Al and Eddie Cheever. Leaders averaging almost 109.5 miles per hour.
Boy, Cheever is really putting the pressure on, moving to the outside. We saw him try to go in that corner a while ago, and he trying to outbrake into that thing, and it's plenty tough. Let's go to Sally Larvick in the pit.
And Mario Andretti headed back to the garage area. It looked like, Mario, this was going to be your weekend. Everything was working well for you, and then something happened. Describe to us what happened.
Well, I just got running. I got thumped in the back. Bobby Rahal came in too hot in the corner, and all I saw, he jumped over my wheels, and I saw the bottom of his car actually alongside of me. You know, so just one of those things. He put himself out and put me out.
When you look at the track and the way you've been running, I mean, the car was working very well for you. What was the track conditions like?
The track was all right. There was slight graining one of the corners, but, you know, nothing really too critical, so conditions were okay.
You really thought this was going to be your race, didn't you? The team thought so also.
The car was just running picture perfect. Everything was right on schedule. You know, I was running my race early on before the yellow, and I got messed up a little bit by the timing on the yellow, but I was still all right. So, you know, just too bad, really, when you're running that competitively.
Okay, another bad day for Mario Andretti, headed back toward the garage area. Back to you, Don.
Tremendous competitor who shows his grace and disappointment as much as he does when he gets the checkered flag. In their wisdom, the Porsches have now pitted after not doing so under 2 yellow caution flags.
Well, the only thing I can figure on this pit stop situation is now they've made their stop, and they can go 2 stops. If everybody else has to go 3 stops, well, it doesn't. No, they're not going to have to, because they've been on that caution for so long. So I really don't know what their thinking was. Here we're looking over Al Unser Jr.'s shoulder. You can see that little scoop he's got up on the edge of the cockpit there with a white tube. That goes down inside his uniform. So he's scooping some outside air for a little cooling inside his uniform. It's a little primitive, but it works.
Little Al is moving up. He's running number 2 and is stalking the leader, Michael Andretti, back in front.
Now the track is, as Mario alluded to, is breaking up a little bit in these corners. You can see the tire tracks. If we get a shot of the corner where they're getting a little white looking right at the groove where the cars are running, where the tires are running, and it's sloughing off just a little bit of gravel off to the sides, and it makes it very slippery. So you really have to, you can't miscue. You've got to stay on mark. If you get out a little bit, it slides you clear across the racetrack.
One of the good new drivers on the kart Indy scene is Willie T. Ribbs of San Jose, California, driving for the Rayner Cosby team. And right now, Brian is with one of his sponsors, Mr. Cosby.
Well, here's a familiar face to NBC, Bill Cosby down in the Willie T. Ribbs pits, but he's not just a spectator, he's one of the partners at Rayner Cosby Racing. Bill, exactly what is your involvement with this team?
Well, I'm a part owner, and the Rayner part of the car broke down. My parts are still going. So I called Tom Cruise, and I think we'll go in partnerships, but this is going to cost NBC heavily if we beat the Simpsons in the ratings. I need more money.
You got to start the race today. This is your first IndyCar race. What are your impressions?
I'll tell you, I felt those cars going past me underneath, and I've never felt anything like that in my life. I understand now why people are here. Before, I didn't understand it. This is power. This is heavier than George Foreman.
Bill Cosby, a very interested spectator here today, Don.
At least it wasn't the Cosby's part of the car that broke down.
Yeah.
Michael Andretti running on the lead in this 1990 Meadowlands Grand Prix, followed by Al Unser Jr. Sons of famous racing names contending now.
Eddie Cheever is running at third, and then Rick Mears and Danny Sullivan going at it there. But Cheever has backed off of his quest for that position from Al Unser Jr.
Mears right now is fourth, and Danny Sullivan right up on his tail point is trying to get by him. Michael Andretti, Al Unser, Eddie Cheever, Rick Mears, and Danny Sullivan, the top 5. Lion Dyke, the 500 winner in Indianapolis, is running 6th. Now Eddie Cheever's in the pits. He was running third when he went to the pits. Let's go down to Brian again.
And the car is off. Eddie Cheever came into the pits. The car is off, and you can see his frustration. Team owner Chip Ganassi is here. Chip, what's the problem?
Sir, I don't know. Apparently we have a fuel problem, a fuel pickup problem right now. I'm not sure.
Eddie Cheever running so very well, came into the pits. The car is down. Now they've refired it, and Eddie Cheever being pushed back out onto the racetrack. Let's go down to Sally Larvik.
And strategy continues in the Porsche pit. You said that you were going to stop at the end of the yellow for the pit stop, and then you didn't do it. You had the tires out, you brought them back in, and then you ended up stopping on the green. What kind of strategy is this, Derek?
Well, that was the wrong one for sure. We underestimated they would clear the track that quick, and all of a sudden it was, time to go racing. So we gambled to pull out a little bit of a lead before we came in and topped off. So for sure it hurt us, but there's a long way to go yet.
How much is this going to hurt you?
Sorry?
How much is this going to hurt you?
Well, I don't know. It remains to be seen. There's still the mileage race is going to come at the end of the race. So we'll have to see what happens and where we are then.
And of course, the Porsche pit has a telemetry system where they can tell exactly what their fuel mileage is before the car even comes in for a pit stop. Back to you, Don.
Okay, Sally, Michael Andretti has 2 victories this year. He's the leader now. As right now, we have Danny Sullivan coming up hard on Rick Mears. Sullivan running number 4. Rick Mears is the number 3 car, the yellow Pennzoil car. Danny Sullivan coming off a victory a week ago in Cleveland. Al Jr. is off the track now. Al Unser Jr.
Yeah, it looks it's hard to tell. He's talking to them on the radio. That's at the head of the pits. He has turned in and come back to the exit to the infield where the cars are kept. He's out of the race. He's not going back to the pits. So something has happened to his car, and he's broke. There we have the shot from inside the cockpit, talking to one of the people, telling them they're pushing him out of the way. So that's a shame that Al Unser Jr. is out of this race.
So as the race continues, the attrition factor builds. Some big people are gone. Mario's out, Ray Hall's out, now little Al is out as Michael Andretti, the pole sitter, continues to lead. Back at the 1990 Meadowlands Grand Prix.
Eddie Cheever setting in his car as they try to figure out what the problem is. That is frustration, to have to be running out there so hard and then suddenly to pull back. Here we see Sullivan and Mears still going at it, hammer and tong out there.
It's a battle for second.
It's tough. Yeah, the battle for second, but it's tough for Cheever to have to. He was there. He was challenging and looking so strong, and then suddenly the car breaks. It's frustrating. Catching some slower cars. We'll see if Sullivan tries to make a move here and uses the slower cars as an advantage. There you can see those white patches I was talking about earlier on the corners where they start sloughing off the gravel, and it becomes quite slippery outside.
It's Danny Sullivan who said this narrow race course, it's from 45 feet in width down to 31, gives the leader a chance to shut the door on a challenger. Michael Andretti said to win here you have to take chances. Bobby Rahal thought he was not taking a chance when he went to pass Mario, but the collision knocked them both out of the race.
Well, that was unfortunate. But the point situation for Michael at this juncture looks pretty good, because he's having a chance if he finishes in front today and makes that 20 points. With the other contenders dropping out this early, he could be in good shape.
Let's go back to Brian Hammond.
Well, Al Unser Jr. is sitting in the pits quietly with the umbrella over his head to shield himself from the sun. He has a broken left rear half shaft, so it's a serious problem. It will take a long time for this crew to change, but remember, little Al is very much in that points race. He wants to go back out and get as many points as he possibly can. That's why he's still in the car hoping to get this thing fixed on.
Good point, Brian. 20 points go to the winner. Michael Andretti is the leader, running 5th. Overall in the point total so far this year, the PPG IndyCar World Championship point totals. He gets 20 today. Jump right.
A.J. Foyt, old buddy from Houston. Michael is closing in on A.J.
A.J's done some driving over the years.
Yes, he has. He's probably the greatest driver I've ever watched on the big picture, I can guarantee you.
As we're calling him the Gordie Howe, the George Bland of IndyCar driving. Yeah. He's a lot older than they were when they got done competing. A.J.'s 55 and has no plans to give it up. Right now, A.J. is running in the 11th position. Our number 14, a 4-time winner of the Indianapolis 500. There's only been 2 of those that have won it 4 times, the other being Al Jr.'s dad, Al Unser Sr.
There we see Dean Hall coast to a stop in a very precarious position, and I can't tell. It looks like something is askew on the. Maybe not. They're able to roll the car a little bit. He may have a flat tire. Right rear looks like it might be. He might have made contact and just scuffed the wheel and knocked the rim off and went flat. But Dean Hall looks like he's being pushed behind the wall, going to be out of this thing.
He's a young man that loves to go fast. He was a downhill speed skier. His top time going down a mountain was 120 miles an hour. Apparently that wasn't fast enough. He wants to go 250 in an Indy car.
Faster than I would care to go, I can assure you that.
Harry Lyondike, running 4th right now, is closing in on Danny Sullivan in the number 7 Marlboro car. Danny running 3rd.
Ari has had his frustrations this year trying to get back in the hunt. He's not finished well and since Indianapolis, so it looks like he's got a chance to make some moves here.
Let's watch, see what happened to Dean Hall a bit ago.
Oh, there we see why that right rear was flat. He just went out and got into those marbles. That's one of the corners that's sloughing off a little bit. You can see his hand up there telling them he's in trouble. I asked an old guy one time why he held his hand up, and he said, well, I wanted you to know I was in trouble. I said, you think I didn't know you were in trouble? Well, that's the case. Everybody knows. But he just touched the wall and broke the wheel, obviously, and when it did, the air went out of it and the right rear was flat. But the car is damaged to the point he's not going to get back in the race.
We have dramatically different driving conditions than a week ago in Cleveland, and they were racing without retainers on the open tarmac of Cleveland Burke Airport. Today on this narrow Meadowlands course with concrete on both sides.
Well, they get real tight. Down this, Lyondike made a pass on Bosell, so he's by a position and going after Pancho Carter at this point, still trying to get gathered back up with Danny Sullivan. So Lyondike is making his moves. You know, I think we're seeing a little bit of the guys holding back because of the fuel situation. I don't think we're seeing the aggressiveness. Let's go to Sally Larvick in the pits.
And the day is also over for Eddie Cheever. Took a drink of water, putting it on his hands. Sore hands.
No, just mad, very disappointed. We haven't had the Lola a very long time, and every time we've run it, it's always been in qualifying. And today is the first time the car was working well. I had a very good shot at the leaders. I was quicker than Little Al, who was in front of me, and we worked our way up from 13 to about 3rd, so it was a good race for us. Anyways, we're getting there.
You brought it into the pits. They didn't know what the problem was. They changed all the electrical, got it started again. You went out. Seemingly the problem was solved, but it wasn't. Then what happened?
I think we had a wastegate brake, or a wastegate or a turbo, which is an auxiliary to the engine. It's a disappointment, but I would much rather have a race like this where we're quick and we're getting up to speed than have a race where I toddle around in 12th or 13th. Today's the first good race we've had all year.
Okay, thank you, Eddie Cheever. He'll be watching the rest of this race from the pit. Back to you, Don.
Thanks, Sally. Michael Andretti quietly and efficiently pulling away his lead up to 12 seconds now over the second place runner, Rick Mears. We have a battle now for 5th place. As Dominic Dobson running in 5th and Scott Brayton right behind him, the number 22 car.
They're coming up on the halfway mark, so everybody's going to be just kind of doing whatever they can do until they get to the strategic point to know they're going to make it on fuel and then make it happen.
We are now halfway through this Meadowlands Grand Prix. We started with 28 Indy cars. 8 have gone out. Bright, sunshiny day. The threat of rain doesn't seem very imminent right now. Hot and humid in the Meadowlands of New Jersey.
Scott Brayton has done a good job. He's currently running in 6th position out there, and he was one of them that stayed out on that first caution and came on fuel. So there we see a pass. Matsushita in car number 10 was passed by Dominic Dobson in car 86. Mexico Haviland car, and he's obviously that was holding him up, and he's moving away. So there's the leader coming in right behind them. Michael Andretti sizing the situation up. Probably make a couple of passes here down the front straightaway.
So now halfway through the race, Michael Andretti, the pole sitter, is the leader, followed by Rick Mears and Danny Sullivan, those two from Team Penske. Johnny Rutherford, this is Don Criqui back at the Meadowlands Grand Prix as you see Danny Sullivan now in pursuit of second place Rick Mears. Mears in the yellow car. Two men driving for the Penske team. Third member of that team way out at the moment.
Emerson was in the pits with problems as we saw earlier, and he's not back on the track yet. Mears is getting some pressure again from Sullivan, so we can see him close in here. But I'm sure he's not going to relinquish that second slot very easily.
Michael Andretti continues to lead the race. He has an extensive lead at the moment. Rick Mears, a three-time Indianapolis 500 champion, has never been at his best on these road courses. Let's hear more from him now.
Obviously, you have to get to the end to be able to accumulate any points, and you know, that's what we've been concentrating very hard on. But we've also been concentrating on trying to win the races too. If you can win the races and be consistent, you know, you're just that much better off. So we go in to try to win the race, but if winning the race is out of our reach as far as the car and setup on that given day, then the next best thing is try to accumulate as many points as you can, finish as high as you can, yet you don't want to get into trouble and or fall out of the race or tangle with somebody or whatever the case may be. You know, the last race we had a little problem and went from 4th to 9th in the last 2 laps, and that dropped us 7 points, and that's a very important 7 points. It's very tight this year, and it's going to continue to be tight all year long. So, you know, those 7 can come back to haunt us.
Well, Rick Mears, who is currently the top man in the PPG IndyCar World Championship point standings, but at the outset of this day, 6 points separated the top 4 men on the list.
Lal is back on the course as we saw as he went by there, and Emerson Fittipaldi has returned to the race. He's currently running in 16th, but he's 8 laps down. There, Al Jr. moves to the side to give them an opportunity to get by. I don't know if he's got a problem or if he's just being courteous. You know, he's down so many laps.
Right now, Little Al has dropped back to 20th place. After 75 laps, this is how it stood. Michael Andretti, Rick Mears, and Danny Sullivan were 1, 2, 3. Lyondike, Dobson, and Brayton in the next 3 positions and on down. Bobby in a Porsche had the lead for some time when he did not pit, while the others did under a yellow caution. Hiro Matsushita, an interesting story, over from Japan racing. Eight cars are out of this race. All of those people are gone. As we look over the shoulder of Al Unser Jr., a 2-time Meadowlands Grand Prix winner, trying to get his car back in sync, well off the pace, running 20th.
You know, it's one of the hard things to do when you go in and set in the pits like that for a long time. Sometimes you come back out and it just seems like you just can't get back in the groove or get the feel of the thing. Here we see Dominic Dobson and John Andretti. John Andretti moving in on Dobson. He's made the pass. Right behind him is car number 4 is Teo Fabi, the other Porsche, so they're both running together on the racetrack.
Dominic Dobson in number 86 is running 5th at the moment behind Lyondike. Safety measures are tremendous though in these cars. A.J. Foyt saying that when he first qualified for the 500 back in '58 at Indianapolis, he qualified and then an excellent time of 143 miles an hour, but he said, I'd rather crash one of today's cars at 230 than one of those at 140.
Oh, there we've got a spin. Scott Goodyear has spun. Turn number 2. The corner workers coming out to try to get him pushed out of the way. Once again, you can see the gravel to the left of him there. Just a little black flecks on the screen. Then on his tires, see how it's built up there. If you move out of that groove just the slightest little bit, it gets just like ice, and you do just what he did. You spin out.
And Goodyear was having a good race, Johnny. He was running 10th at the time he spun out.
Yeah, he's having a problem. I don't know whether he's saying something else is wrong and he can't, whether they need to pick the car up. We see Dominic Dobson there coming down into turn 2 where Goodyear has spun. They go by on the inside, but it gives them a chance. When you check your speed like that, everybody closes up. So there we see the 2 Porsches of Andretti and Bobby right up on Dobson's tail, and they're all running together, and behind them is second place in the race, Rick Mears.
87 laps into this 150-lap race. We've had the drivers running under yellow cautions for 18 laps.
There we see him making a move on the inside, trying to make the pass, but he didn't quite get it handled. He was trying to make the move. Now we see the Porsches going after it.
Porsches going after each other now.
Yes, I think Bobby is making his move and going right by on the inside, hard braking down. They have to watch out for that car of Goodyear's as they go through the caution flag area, but he did make the pass. Challenged in one and did it down the backstretch. Up another car straight into the wall. Dobson, it looks like, went straight into the wall there. Tire barrier.
Plug one into concrete here.
Well, it's tire barrier there, so it cushions it a little bit, but that was there. We're seeing them pulling him out. He ran, yeah, he was running in 6th place, and he locked the brakes up and slid right straight into the tire wall. This is the place where Fittipaldi and Little Unser got into it here a couple of years ago, and that's a shame because he was having one of his better days and just miscued a bit. You can see that black mark where the groove, where the tires run. There's Michael Andretti.
Michael Andretti starting on his 10th pole today in IndyCar racing. He's had 5 on road tracks, 5 on ovals. He was also the pole sitter in the 1986 Meadowlands Grand Prix. Michael with 2 wins in 1990. He won at Detroit and Portland, was the pole sitter in both. Let's go back down to Brian.
Rick Mears is in the pits, running in 2nd place. He'll get 4 new tires, a full load of fuel. Now the fuel story will come into play. He is in awfully early to make this a 2-stop race. He will probably have to pit one more time for fuel before the end of this race. This car is off the jacks and off 15.8 seconds. A good stop for Rick Mears.
There's the leader, Michael Andretti. Michael could be getting ready to pit here, Johnny, as Rick Mears is out of the pits.
He puts the lap on him. There he goes by. That's Michael Andretti has put 1 lap on him. So now it's a fact of Andretti having to make his stop so Mears can get the lap back. And we'll see if Mears can put it all the way on him.
Andretti, his car with a Lola chassis. Michael said at a press conference it takes a lot of adjustment to get the chassis ready for this race. He said, we think we know what Lola wants. And
does Lola get it, though? That's the other question. There he goes by Hiro Matsushita and chasing A.J. Foyt.
So they're driving hard through 80 laps now. We'll be back to the Meadowlands Grand Prix after this. We're back at the Meadowlands Grand Prix. Right now, coming into pit is Michael Andretti, the race leader, as we go down to Sally Larvik.
Putting in fuel and new tires, they've had virtually no problem with this chassis all weekend. As Michael Andretti waits as they put the remaining fuel in, and he is off. A good pit stop for Michael Andretti.
Looked like a real good one inside 16 seconds.
Now we'll see if Mears can do the same thing to him and get his lap back totally, or if Michael comes out of the pits into the lead, and he can't quite do it, I'm afraid. He's not in the position. So Michael Andretti. I think Danny Sullivan has moved to the lead with these pit stops. Mears will start moving back up. He made his stop first, and if he could go to the end, which we don't think he will.
While we were away, the Japanese rookie driver in the race, Hiro Matsushita, started spewing smoke and then spewing a lot of fluid as he went out of the race. He took the blows do not enter. Last exit to Brooklyn.
Well, that's and he can't continue. That's the bad part. The car really expired there. So there's Hiro walking away the end of his day. A little cooler now for him anyway.
His driving team well capitalized. He's the grandson of the founder of Panasonic, one of the biggest electronic companies in the world.
He's an impressive young man.
And now in the lead until he pits is number 7, Danny Sullivan, a former winner here in 1986 and a man coming off his first win of 1990 a week ago at Cleveland.
It was a good shot of the Porsche coming around the turn with Sullivan pressing between both of the Porsches as they stretch out. Something obviously second car there, 41, John Andretti, not wanting to push as hard because they were together a while ago, and they may have word from the pit. We've got to save fuel, guys. Ease up on the throttle a little bit.
Making right decisions, so much a part of winning racing.
Here comes Sullivan to the pits.
Danny Sullivan goes to the pit, so Michael Andretti moves back up to the lead. Back down to Brian.
Danny Sullivan hits his mark. A full load of fuel for Danny. It'll be a 4-tire change. Danny's in pretty good shape fuel-wise. This possibly could be his final pit stop. This is lap 95. You may be able to go 56 to 58 laps on a load of fuel. There's a problem at the right rear of the car. Everything's being cleared away now. The fuel's still going in the car. It's a long pit stop for Danny Sullivan. 22, 23, 23.2 seconds. A long pit stop for Danny Sullivan, but he's away.
Roger Penske probably not pleased with that. Head of the Penske Racing team, they like to do it in 15 seconds and usually do.
Yeah, but my guess is they wanted to make sure they got every ounce of fuel they possibly could in the car so that he can go the distance. If he's making the mileage, then if he gets everything he can in the car, then he's gone. And there we see second, third, and fourth going after it, pressing very hard.
3 cars are on the lead lap, Andretti, Sullivan, and Mears.
They go by A.J. Foyt there. Leyendijk and Mears stuck together. Leyendijk's looking really aggressive, very strong. His car must be feeling good to him. That car of Rick Mears, though, really runs down those straightaways. They have strong, good engines at Penske's. And Mears always was able to put a little power, show a little muscle off and down these straightaways. Coming up on Danny Sullivan, who has made his stop. There's A.J. Foyt in the pits, leaving after pit stop, down with the visor.
Still very much in the race is A.J. in this race that has seen 9 cars go out. A.J. right now is running number 9.
There you can see him reach up and pull off what we call a tear-off. It's a thin plastic covering that goes over the visor to protect it. And when it gets dirty, then you just reach up and grab the side of it, give it a pull, and away it goes, and you've got a clear vision again.
Leyendijk also running on the lead lap now. As Scott Brayton, who was running 5th, is now in the pits.
He was one of them that chose not to come in on that first one, so it'll bear to see if that will have any, if he can use that for any strategy.
Racing conditions have been excellent all day. It was sunny, very warm, and windy here in the Meadowlands nearby to New York City. A distinct threat of rain at the outset, but we've seen none yet. Looks like they could go the distance. It's still quite sunny here in New Jersey. Right now, Scott Brayton, who you see his 10th was his best finishes in the Meadowlands Grand Prix. He did that twice. Running hard. Michael Andretti doing everything right. There he is, the leader. Michael Andretti, who's looking for his 3rd Art Indy victory of the year. Every time Andretti started on the lead, on the pole this year, he's won the race. Place car Danny Sullivan is slowing down. He looks to be in trouble, Johnny.
Yes, he's pulled in at the head of the pits, the same place Al Unser Jr. pulled in earlier. They're trying to turn him to get him headed in. Obviously they're going to push him behind the wall, as we say, to check out what's wrong with the car, but it could be the end of Danny Sullivan's day.
And Dominic Dobson now with a flat tire. He's barely making it around the course as he, as a back marker, is passed repeatedly. There's Dobson, number 86. You see that left rear.
Yeah, it's
ready to come off.
He He's headed for the pits to get a new one so he can get back into the fray. Oh, Lyondike is in. Oh, look at this. He just went past and is miscued and run into the tire wall. You can see those tires, they're all banded together to make a cushion so that it's not quite as hard a thump into the concrete at some of the high impact areas. And that was it. Here's Dobson being tended to in the pits.
You know, Johnny, putting a car into the retaining wall here is not hard to do on this narrow course. Back out on the course now comes Dominic Dobson as we go down to Sally.
I'm with Chuck Sprague, who is the team manager for Penske, and Danny was running so well. And then what happened, Chuck?
Well, we're not sure. We've lost all drive. That could be anywhere from, you know, the flywheel on the back of the motor, somewhere through the gearbox to one of the drive shafts. So somewhere in the drive line, we can't get anything to the ground anymore.
And you talked to Danny. What did he have to say to you?
Just now?
Yeah.
I'm pretty disappointed.
I bet he is pretty disappointed. You were also concerned about Danny because he's got a sore shoulder. His right shoulder is sore from a bicycle mishap he had in Aspen. Did this affect his driving at all today?
No, he hasn't complained at all about that. We were having a fairly good day. You know, we got back a little bit on the start, and you know, we had some luck go our way. Some other people dropped out, and we were working on closing up and trying to do it on just one more stop, which we think we could do, but seems to be for nothing now.
It just wasn't Danny Sullivan's day. Back to you, Don.
Okay, so Harry Lyondike, who looked to be in deep trouble, is back running well now.
Well, that's the one thing about those nice those tire barriers. Well, he's over. He's over Jonathan Turn. What in the world? That is incredible. Now he's going up the road to try to turn around. He's back over headed for Giant Stadium. Maybe he knows something we don't, but there he goes. Now he's turning it around in the parking lot at Giant Stadium and heading back to the racetrack. I wonder what he's going to do when he meets those cars head on coming down to turn one. That's the other thing. Now they've sent the safety equipment after him to see if they can do anything, but he must have pulled up and stopped because he didn't come back.
Heading towards the Lincoln Tunnel. We go back down to Brian.
Danny Sullivan just climbed out of his car. What put you out of the race, Danny?
Well, it looks like I lost all final drive to the car. Every gear I put it in coming out of the chicane over there just spun the engine, no drive to the rear wheels.
The car looked like it was running very well for you today.
It was. We took our time. We had a little problem early on with the understeer and the boost, and once we got that all settled down, we were running good.
Were you okay on fuel, just to get an idea for what people out there have? Were you okay on fuel?
We had no problem. We stopped exactly when we wanted to. We had enough to go to the end, running harder than we had run early on.
All right, Danny Sullivan done for the day. Don?
The electronic fuel systems have really taken this state-of-the-art driving to a higher level. And right now, Ari Lyondike, who's been stop-and-go driving, he's been off the course. He's back on it now. A little earlier, he hit a retaining wall. Fortunately for Ari, it was a tire retaining wall.
There's Dobson coming back in. Oh, that's where it was. He got into this outside of Dobson when he came around. We showed him a while ago, and he got into the marbles and slipped right out into that tire barrier. Fortunately, those cushioned him a little bit, and it didn't bend the car. But he's back out on the track, I think, now.
But of greater import is Michael Andretti and his excellent driving. He is still on the lead. The pole sitter today, Michael Andretti, the leader, with Rick Mears running number 2. John Andretti is also on the lead lap. Those three are leading the way in this 1990 Meadowlands Grand Prix. We're back at the Meadowlands Grand Prix, where just 2 cars are on the lead lap. The leader, Michael Andretti, and Rick Mears driving the yellow Pennzoil car well behind Michael. Michael Andretti running well in hand here as he tries for his first Meadowlands.
He's making a pass, going to the inside, passing Mears in turn 2, so that puts Mears 1 lap down. Michael has lapped the field.
Michael has probably need a pit stop before the end, but he can make it at his leisure now.
Oh yes, he's got a full lap to play with, and so he'll have a chance to come in, make his stop, get back out, and probably keep about a half a lap lead.
Michael Andretti, who said before the race, any mistake here is usually a big one. So far, he's driven a mistake-free race. Has led all but about 45 laps of this race. As we're now approaching 120 laps of this 150-lap event. Number 3, Michael Andretti. And there's been a lot of speculation, Johnny Rutherford, that he could be going to Formula One racing as soon as next year for a huge contract.
Well, it could be. You know, these Formula One guys come over and talk to the drivers. I think he and Al Unser Jr. are the ones that are rumored to have some offers to come test over there, but that would be quite a boon. And of course, we don't have any Americans in Formula One right now, and these two guys would certainly carry our flag well.
We'll get an interesting look now at Teo Fabi in his Porsche and a pit stop. This was moments ago with the camera on the helmet.
There we see the right front tire man taking the tire off, looking down. He has the camera on the side of his head on his headset, so he's putting the wheel back on. They're clearing the area. He throws the hose back over. They've still got the sign down in front of him. Now they're letting him go, and something's going wrong here. The cameraman is, we see him looking up and down, checking the area, moving. Now he's moving, getting a shove. Now he has a clutch problem. He couldn't get the clutch to engage and get the car out, so they've got to roll him, get the RPM up in the air, and when it falls back down, you can slam it in gear and get going. That's it was a shame. It took a lot of time to get that done, but it was an interesting shot with the camera.
The last time a driver lapped the field was last year in the Michigan 500, and Michael was the one who did it. Michael Andretti with a lead of over a lap now on the second place runner Rick Mears. Let's go back down to Sally.
The promoter of the Meadowlands Grand Prix, Bud Stanner from IMG, and you have even bigger and better plans for next year regarding this event.
Well, Sally, yes, it's every promoter's dream when you have a major international motorsports event such as an IndyCar race in this location to run in the streets of New York City. And that's our long-range goal. We're getting a lot of support from Marlboro, our sponsor, to do so. Our relationship here at the Meadowlands has been terrific, and we've really enjoyed working with everybody, and we want to do it in such a way that New York wins, the Meadowland wins, and everybody connected with IndyCar racing wins.
IndyCar racing on the streets of New York, possibly next year. Don?
Very interesting. We've got some people over there that can take your tires off and aren't in the pit crew.
Yeah, there's A.J. Foyt, my buddy from Houston, running in 6th place. He's doing a commendable job today. He's out there. His car is working well for him. I've talked to A.J. lately, and he says he really likes this car, and his crew is starting to gel. So we're seeing better things out of A.J. We're currently running in 6th.
What's made him such a great race rider over the years?
Oh, I'll tell you, he's just he's one of the most competitive guys you'd ever run across, and there are a lot of them in this business, but A.J. came out of the old school with sprint cars and midgets, and he's just a tough competitor.
The Houstonian, 55-year-old A.J. Foyt. Right now you're looking at the leader, Michael Andretti, as we're starting down the stretch run, and Michael Andretti could be honing in on his 3rd IndyCar victory of the season. This is Don Criqui with Johnny Rutherford back at the Meadowlands Grand Prix. You're looking at John Andretti, who was running 3rd before pulling in for an extended pit stop.
Yeah, he made a pit stop. It appears that he had a water leak or something hot because he got out of the cockpit and they dumped some water in to cool it down. So there's the leader, Michael Andretti, and he's due for a pit stop.
He's got over a lap lead on the 2nd place car, that of Rick Mears. Michael Andretti, who was the pole sitter, an interesting story this year. He's won the pole twice previously.
And here he comes to the pits as we speak. How about that?
At Detroit and Portland, he won the pole and won both those races. Had the pole today. Let's go to Sally.
Michael Andretti in the pits looking for his 3rd win this season. They were hopefully just going to make it a splash and go, but they are changing some tires. Michael waiting patiently. The hose is now pulled out. Michael is on his way. No problem.
That's fast.
Yeah, that was a no tire stop. They put fuel in only.
It did give Rick Mears, the 2nd place driver, a chance to get on the same lap. They're both on the lead lap now.
Yeah.
There's Rick Mears.
But he's still about a half a lap back, so that's still Michael has some cushion, and he's going to be making his pit stop probably in the next few laps, so they'll stretch back out again. Michael was in and out, no tires, just some fuel, enough fuel to make it to the end, so it's looking good.
20 laps to go in this 150-lap race as we're looking at Rick Mears trying to make up ground. Rick Mears, who was voted driver of the decade in an Associated Press poll.
There's Roger Penske, the captain, watching over his troops.
They thought Team Penske, with those 3 standout drivers this year, would dominate hard Indy racing, but so far 2 victories. That's good, but not domination.
Well, that's the way this business is, Don. You know, you think you've got it all figured out and everything's going in your favor, and bang, something happens and it takes it away from you. So they won't stay away very long. You can count on that.
Tony Bettenhausen running 10th at the moment.
Tony's running a Buick engine, and that's a little bit of a disadvantage on a place like this where you have to have some muscle to get down these straightaways, and he's just setting out there doing his job, staying out of trouble, and going to come up with a good finish for him here today.
Tony Bettenhausen, son of a famous racing family of Indianapolis fame. He started 27th today and is up to 10th. 18 cars in the 28-car field now out of the race. The Meadowlands Grand Prix is the 4th of 6 kart races this season, hosting the Texaco Valvoline Pit Competition. After the first 3 races, Al Unser Jr. leads the competition. The top 10 qualifiers at the selected races are eligible for the competition and a year-end cash prize totaling $110,000. Each qualifying driver's pit stops or time from pit entrance to pit exit. The driver who spends the least amount of time on pit road during the race wins. And we'll be back for the conclusion of the Meadowlands Grand Prix in a moment. Back now as we're coming down the stretch run of this 1990 Meadowlands Grand Prix. 5 laps to go, and there is the leader, Michael Andretti, 27 years old. He has always qualified well here. He was the pole sitter this year, but he's always had mechanical problems, it seems. He's never won this race, Johnny.
Well, it looks like he's about to win his first one.
If he does win today, and he's well in command with a 24-second lead on Rick Mears, who's running second and is the only other driver on the lead lap.
Oh, look, John Andretti is into the tire wall. He was running in 4th position for Porsche, and that's a shame. It looks like he got into the wall the same place that Arie Luyendyk did a while ago, and he's dejectedly walking back out of the way.
His Porsche teammate Teo Fabi is 3rd in the race. As we look at Michael Andretti, if he does hold on to win here today, and he has the race well in hand, Michael Andretti, who's really on a racing roll, will have won 3 of the last 4 IndyCar races.
He really is on a roll, and he's done this one today just right. But it's not over yet, as they say.
They pay off only on the checkered flag.
That's right.
You know, Johnny.
There you see the Porsche car into the tire barrier. It's a shame for John Andretti. Cousins, Michael and John. One out, one about to win.
Michael Andretti. 3 poles this year, and it looks like 3 victories. In the other races where he didn't win the pole, he failed to finish the race 4 times. He said at the outset, this is a course that takes everything a driver has all the way around. You've got to fight the car, hustle the car. It's bumpy, it's tight, and there's no room for mistakes. That is a portion of the track right there we just saw, where a lot of big ones have been made over the years here.
They're still not able to get that car out of the way. I guess they're going to leave it set there. Everybody knows where it is, so it's they have the caution standing in the corners. But Michael Andretti is making his push. There's car owner Carl Haas, and he hasn't chewed on that cigar. It must be a brand new cigar. He's usually got them chewed clear down to the nubbin.
Looks like a Little League baseball bat. Less than 2 laps to go now as Michael Andretti is running alone, heading towards the victory in the 7th Meadowlands Grand Prix.
Here's Chris Mears waiting for Rick to come around, who probably, it looks like at this point, will be in 2nd. So Michael Andretti leading, Rick Mears in 2nd. Teo Fabi in the Porsche is running in 3rd position.
1 lap to go. The white flag comes out. The final lap, the big one, of 150. And here comes Michael Andretti. driving a near-perfect race. There's been trouble all around. Earlier, his dad went out as he collided with Bobby Rahal, the defending champion. Michael Andretti eluded trouble all the way around, extended his lead. He's led for virtually all of the race after those caution laps early. The car ran perfectly, and the pilot was just as good.
He could bump it out of gear and coast home now. He's coming around the final turn down the front straightaway to take the checkered flag from Nick Fenora. There it is.
Michael Andretti wins his third Kart Indy race of the year.
There is Sandy Andretti, very happy. She better not be jumping around too hard like that. She's expecting their second child, and there's Rick Mears.
Rick Mears, who was the points leader and still is, but Michael Andretti now jumps from 5th to 2nd in the point standings. The PPG IndyCar World Series point standings. He trails Rick Mears by 13 points, and there is the head of Team Penske, Roger Penske. A happy Mrs. Andretti, Sandy Andretti, coming out to greet the victor, Michael Andretti, in car number 3. The hand raised to the big following here in New Jersey, the winner of the 1990 race.
It's the Blue Light Special here in Victory Lane at the Meadowlands, and Michael Andretti is the winner of today's Meadowlands Grand Prix. Michael, congratulations.
Thank you very much. I'll tell you, Kmart Havlin car ran great all day. It was probably the most disciplined race that I ever had to drive because of the fuel mileage. Spent the whole time watching my gauges, making sure I didn't run, over too much fuel. So, it was a tough race because of that.
Did you let your father by early in the race?
Yeah, I did, because I couldn't figure out how he was going to make it. I think he was gambling on yellows because at the rate that I was running, I was already running over what I should be. So I had to let him go by. It hurt a little bit, but I had to let him.
How hot was it out there?
It wasn't too bad, actually. I thought it'd be worse, but I think a lot of it's good because we didn't have a hard-fought pace. I think we just at a good, consistent pace, so it doesn't take as much out of you.
3 wins this year for Michael Andretti. He's the winner of the Meadowlands Grand Prix. Now let's go to Sally Larvey.
A very happy and a very relieved Teo Fabi as he pours water over his wrist. It was a very hot race for him also. We questioned the strategy of the Porsche pit and bringing you in at certain times for your pit stop, but apparently it worked, coming in 3rd, your best finish ever.
No, I think we've been very unlucky to have the second yellow just 2 laps after the green. But I really had problem with the car from the beginning. I lost the brakes and I lost the clutch, and it was very difficult to drive, but I managed to make no mistakes the whole race, and so I'm pleased.
But you got to smile, Teo. I see a smile on you somewhere in there. You ought to be pretty happy with the performance.
Well, it's our best result so far, but it was a long afternoon.
Okay, thank you, Teo Fabi. Back to you, Don.
Teo Fabi, 3rd, his best finish of the year. The defending champion, Bobby Rahal, had a difficult moment. So did Mario Andretti as he runs up on the back of Mario's car. So Rahal, the defending champion, and a former winner, Andretti, both went out of the race on the 41st lap there. Michael Andretti driving to victory. He started on the pole. Rick Mears, number 2, followed by Fabi, Lyondike, and Foyt in the top 5. That's AJ's best finish since the '88 Indianapolis 500. As we look at the rest of the Meadowlands Grand Prix final standings. 28 drivers started the race. 18 were out of the running at the end. Michael Andretti now with 3 victories in his last 4 races. A dominant figure. And he has jumped up on the PPG IndyCar World Series point standings. Rick Mears is still the leader with 16 points for his 2nd place finish today. But Michael Andretti is now tied with Emerson Fittipaldi for 2nd with 88 each. Al Jr. right behind Bobby Rahal is 5th at the moment.